It's Sunday night. We're live again. Welcome to the red, the white, the blue football therapy session. A show that will last longer than your Grand National bet, and one which will certainly be playing Champions League football next season, unlike a certain Man United. Anyway, before we begin, let me welcome my two companions to this festival of football in chat. Stephen and Charlie, how are you doing?
Good afternoon.
On Man United, I love the way you threw Man United into that
one. Where do we start? What a weekend of football it's been. It really has. I think when we left last week, I was in the depths of despair. If anyone had seen me, I was live. We did a live for the Wafflers Wednesday, and I was hosting. Ben and Becca were in Disneyland Paris. So I was on screen, but I had Everton Burnley on the TV. So most of the night, my mate picked me up on it, is because when Burnley scored the winner, he saw my eyes roll and my whole shoulders dipped the whole lot. It was just, I actually felt Wednesday night was the end of the season. I really did. And somehow Man United decided not to turn up at 12:30 on a Saturday. So.
Is it? I didn't see the game, John. But was it a case of Man United not turning up? Was it a case?
I would say so. But I tell you what, the crowd at Goodison were amazing.
John.
Yeah.
Was it a case of Ronaldo thinking of, I'm going to smack a phone out of some kid's hands at the end of the game?
Well, I tell you, that's really done for me today, because when I saw the footage, I got the footage on an Everton Twitter page last night, and to be honest, if you want to be known as the greatest of all time, surely you're going to have a bit of dignity when you get beat. You're not going to take it out on a little kid that who's trying to film you as you're coming off the pitch, irrespective of what the result is. Even given the fact he really hadn't had a kick for most of the game, and then. I think a couple of Man United fans had tweeted the pictures of his leg. So who they got the pictures of his leg from? Because he'd been quite badly studied during the game. But irrespective of that, it's like, it's a kid. So come on, you don't do that. It's just. And the worst thing of all is you don't say sorry and then invite them to an Everton kid to go to Old Trafford to watch the great Ronaldo.
I don't know. If I was that kid's half fella, I'd be thinking, you know what, son, you could get us to Everton Man United away next season.
Yeah.
That's all I'm thinking. Like, look at it from that point of view. But I think he come up with an apology, didn't he? He says, I get it. He's got in the heat of the moment, and I get that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think he put it in a statement. These kids look up to these fellas.
Yeah.
They should set an example for.
I would also say a big thank you to a Man United fan on Twitter who did tweet the immortal lines of, "The poor lad suffered enough, Ronaldo. What more could you ask to bring him to Old Trafford to make him suffer some more?" And I just like, I don't know, that's Twitter at its best, really is.
But like I was saying offline, there is, yes, me and Charlie are probably going to get into Liverpool a little bit later in the City game, and it was the biggest game of the weekend. However, I think Everton are one of the teams who have won this weekend, who are the big winning stories. Because if you said at the start of the show there, John, where you struggled against Burnley, you got beat against Burnley, and I'm feeling the worst. And I seen your text coming through, and I'm thinking, wow, looking at the pictures, where'd you get the points from? And then all of a sudden you pick 2 points up against Man United. All right, they're not the Man United of yesteryear, but at the same time, where Everton are, it's still a hell of an uphill struggle. To get them 3 points was one thing, but then to see Burnley get beat today by Norwich, it's, and let's face it, I'm saying in and around Everton in the text, but really I'm talking Burnley, and they got beat today.
I've got to say, after Wednesday night, I was feeling the worst. I was actually, that sort of that depressive blue that I am. I'd resigned myself to being in the bottom three tonight, and I'd already sort of had me sort of black attire of just sort of, might even gone for the funeral suit and all that, because it was the end of it on Wednesday. The performance yesterday against Man United, we got away with a couple of stuff and things like that, but actually the players for the first time in a long time looked as if they wanted it. The balance of the team was much, much better yesterday. And that was something I was surprised that Michael Keane was back in the team. Again, having slagged him off because he had this absolute stinking game last weekend. Missed the game against Burnley because he was suspended. But him, in fact, I'm not going to choose. I can't really choose a single player. They played as a team, and that is such a different thing. And I've got to say that was the undoing of United, because they seemed they were just a bunch of individuals who didn't look as if they cared for each other. They were only caring for themselves, and it was kind of a position reversed in some ways. My mate texted me, and he just said, he said, look, you'll be all right. And he's a Man United season ticket holder. He knew what was coming. I said, no, it's not going to happen. And what he was trying to say is that these players are just so alienated from each other. And you take the likes of Luke Shaw, who didn't play yesterday, out of the equation. They don't have an idea of how to play together as a team. And I don't know. I think the issue with Ronaldo throughout the game, I wouldn't even say the issue was when he was leaving the pitch. I think throughout the game, he looks as if the rest of the players don't like him being there. They don't seem to play well when he's playing in the same team as Fernandes, and I've said that for a long time. But they were just well off it, and I was quite shocked at how much the crowd in particular got those points yesterday. Today's result at Carrow Road for Norwich have basically left me in a position. We're now 2 games further down the line, but I'd have been very, very happy sat here tonight having 3 points against Burnley and nothing off Man United, and then strange enough, that the fickle finger of footballing fortunes, as Jonathan Pearce once said, it's just turned the whole thing on its head, and that's what football's all about, isn't it? It's just you can't guarantee you're going to get points here, there, and everywhere. And I've got to say, I'm really happy tonight. I'm breathing a little bit more than I was last week.
Yeah, and Everton did. You can see them putting everything into trying to close out that game. They were taking it up into the corner as much as they could, trying to kill every second. And Ronaldo still had a chance to tie it up in extra time. Yeah, still had that last shot where it was a great save by Pickford. But
that's a good call, Charlie. That's a really good point, because I actually felt the game in midweek, they badly managed the game. The game management was really poor, even at 2-2. They didn't shut Burnley down to give away a cheap free kick, cheap corners, and actually that's what Burnley really want you to be doing. And Burnley came up trumps with it. You could see it coming, but it was painful to watch. And you hit the nail on the head. They actually managed the game better. I take my hat off to Pickford, because he was exceptional yesterday. And like I say, he made his Man United season ticket holder says, why does he always do that against Man United? Well, he actually looked like England's number 1 yesterday.
Just go to the chat though, guys. We've got Sarah in, we've got Nick in, and we've got Harrison.
Well, do you know something? Since Nick's with us, let's have a chat about the other team. Because actually, I think you said it in the tweet.
Nick a little update of what was going on. I'm saying, Liverpool and Man City may be the biggest game of the weekend, but I think the biggest winners of this weekend, I don't know if you've seen the tweet there, is probably Everton and Tottenham. Not because both your teams won, it's because the teams around you, they lost themselves. It's it's big kudos. It's like Everton are really fighting for the battle to stay in the league. Tottenham are fighting to get into that Champions League. I thought, for me, it's still stalemate in the Championship. Really, it's probably the only thing that's changed between Liverpool and City after the draw. Really, is the fact that Liverpool no longer have it in their hands. I think before the game, both Liverpool and City had it in their hands. I think now it's in City's hands, so they now have the genuine upper hand. They had the upper hand before the game because obviously they're at City's home ground, and Liverpool have an abysmal record there since Pep took over. I don't think we've won. I don't think we've ever won there since Pep took over from City. But you look at Tottenham, you look at Everton. I think you guys winning, Burnley losing for Everton, then Arsenal getting beat.
Yeah.
United getting beat by Everton. West Ham getting beat today. You want to stress it that far.
Yeah.
I think it's all starting to tick into place for your two teams. Really, that's where that comment comes from.
And do you know something? I know I said to you just before we went live. I watched a lot of the Spurs game, and more with looking at what's wrong with Villa, because Villa seem to be on this sort of, they've lost the last 4 in a row, and by half time, I would actually have said Villa could have been 2 or 3 goals up. And had it not been for the fact that Spurs took the chances in the game, it was nip and tuck. And when you come off at the end of the game, and Villa had put in, a 4-0 home defeat, which admittedly I take my hat off to Son, even though I didn't captain him for me fantasy team. He's still in my fantasy team, so he's rescued me week for me. With Mr. Kane, thankfully.
Mr. Kane took you right to the top there, John.
Yeah, and I'm up against Mr. Average this week, so I've done all right this week. But Spurs, look, they've got a whole different feel to them, and this is what's intriguing me. The lad was at Kulusevski, who. I don't know. He's Swedish. I don't know where he got him from. Oh, Nick, Nick could maybe help us out with that one.
Yeah.
But Kulusevski has actually added such a completely different dimension to that forward line at Spurs, and so they're not looking at so much as defending and then looking towards Harry Kane. Kane's becoming the linchpin, but they've got Son on one side and Kulusevski on the other. And they were able to just take it apart, and it was fabulous. It was an absolute joy to watch that game yesterday. And I've got to say, I don't often watch Spurs games because they usually don't do it for me. But they were exceptional, and I think Villa fans must be on loan from Juventus option to buy. I tell you what, Nick, I'd be buying him. He's just.
John, where you and Nick are coming from, but before I speak anymore, is welcoming Stacey.
Stacey, hiya. How are you doing?
It's dead simple. In the first half, I think you nailed it on the head there, John. I think Villa were the better team by far. I think even Nick in the comments will agree with this. And I think the only reason Tottenham could get away with the 4-0 win that they got with yesterday was the fact of their Hugo Lloris in the first half. He made about 2 or 3 world-class saves. And I mean world-class saves. They were brilliant. They were on a different class, Villa, in the first half.
Yeah.
But it's like what Steven Gerrard was saying the week before. He was saying, he's given me 45 minutes. If you aren't going to give me 90 minutes, I'll find players who are going to give me the full 90 minutes. And all he went out to do this week is prove that they're a 45-minute team.
Mm-hmm.
No disrespect to Tottenham, because I think Tottenham are an amazing team. I really think they will get the top 4 this year. I predicted it right at the start, but I didn't.
you can't resist just adding that every single week we talk about Tottenham. Oh, by the way, I predicted it.
I love it. I know I had to get it. But it was with the wrong manager. I will give Nick his old due and say, do you know what? I said it with the wrong manager, and got the right manager in Conte. I just thought in the second half though they were absolutely unplayable.
Yeah,
Tottenham were unplayable. That flick, and I've got Son in my team, so it was amazing. I got a few points off Son yesterday in me fantasy Premier League team. He just looked and then just come the ball and nodded. They've done it in slow motion in the replay on the Sky Sports, and I don't think it does move any justice because it must have been that.
Yeah.
And that puts the guy on that level up here where you can't see him.
I totally agree with that.
Right up there. So I think Tottenham will get to top four. I thought, but in the first half, and if you think you'll admit this, Nick, please admit this in the first half in the comments, please. That Aston Villa should have been out of sight.
Yeah.
They should have been out of sight. They were all over Spurs in the first half. I don't think Spurs could cope with them.
Do you know something as well, Stephen? And I think this is where the end of this season is going to really sort of ebb and flow, because you've got Villa, who are not a bad side. They should have got something out of the game yesterday, and they got thrashed 4-0. Right? So their next game is away at Leicester, which, going by the table, they're both two mid-table teams, could be interesting. They're then at home to Norwich and then away to Burnley. So Gerrard's actually going to have a big role to play in the relegation battle, because you're going to be looking, Villa are definitely going to be looking at trying to win at against Norwich, and certainly go to Burnley and get something. If they're serious about putting themselves, because they've had a really good season under Gerrard, and then obviously they're going to have, after that, they've got a little visit at Villa Park from Liverpool, which I'm pretty sure Steven Gerrard will just decide. Oh, there you go, lads. There you go. Have you 3 points?
No, come on.
but I just
hang on, John. You just threw a right good read in the Hornets' nest there. I'm not letting that go. I
love doing it though, because I know you'll fight.
Don't play City the last game of the season.
Yeah, they do. But also, what's also intriguing, they've got Burnley to play home and away.
Home and away.
Yeah, because one of the games, and I think it's the one that's the penultimate. It's their penultimate game. They're playing on the Thursday night before the last Sunday of the season, and Villa at home, Burnley are away. It's a game that was cancelled because Burnley couldn't raise the team because of COVID or something. So It's the only time, because Burnley are playing catch up and have been playing catch up for a long time. So they've tried to slot their games in so that it kind of works out. But to go there on the Thursday before the final Sunday, and because Everton are playing Leicester twice before the end of the season, home and away. Burnley are playing Villa. So it's intriguing, because it's actually, when you think, you've only got to play teams once at this stage of the season, but there's a couple of little sort of iffy ones coming up as well. So
right, okay. So that's where we've got to think. I'm going to go to the next comment. Sorry, Charlie, to put in.
Yeah, it's all right.
The next comment I've got highlights up there in a minute. Mm-hmm. So what we've got to do is box clever on our players in our fantasy Premier League team. That's what we need to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just before, Charlie, we get back to you, mate, is Nick saying, wonder what the odds are for Spurs to finish third. Slim. Very slim.
0%. I have them finishing fifth, so sorry.
I have them finishing fourth, though, Nick. I have them finishing fourth.
Do you know something? I'm actually going to go the other way, and I'm going to agree a little bit with Nick here, because I think Chelsea were very fortunate yesterday. Chelsea went to a team that basically they might as well just have had flip flops and wearing speedos because they looked as if they were just on their holidays already in Southampton. And I'm really disappointed. Southampton haven't won in 5 games, and I actually feel Southampton are much better side than they showed yesterday. But they never bothered. And I hate that. I hate it with my own club. When I know my own club have not turned up for a game. But if you're a Southampton fan, it must be so frustrating. Yeah. Sarah's on one, that's it. Yeah. I would agree. Harrison, I was on your side last week as well. You've actually been really done over time and time again.
We get to that final race where no one has no respect other than the people who can beat the pace, who can beat them.
Yeah. But Chelsea aside, they're just at the moment, and I think I said this last week. They're like Jekyll and Hyde in some respects, and I'm still. They played very poorly in the Champions League in midweek, and I felt that's not a Chelsea performance in a million years. And then they turn up at Southampton and get something. So, could we see Chelsea? The players just be totally distracted by what's going on behind the scenes? I don't know, but do you know something, Nick? I'd put £1 on it. I put a pound on a horse yesterday. They just never. Yeah. I think it's still running, so I think it's worth it because I think Spurs are a better bet at the minute than Arsenal. Arsenal seem to just decided they're going to. They've lost the plot altogether again.
Definitely, I think he stuck 6 away against Southampton, but like you said there, John. They're a team that are not playing for anything. Not playing for relegation, they're not playing for survival, they're not playing for Europe, they're not playing for nothing. So, really, it was an easy game for them. You've got teams like yourselves, Burnley, Watford, Norwich, they're fighting for their lives. Would that have been the same results against one of them teams? I very highly doubt it. Yeah. And going to Nick's comment there, can we see a Chelsea implode with what's going on behind the scenes? Most definitely. And
I think so. I honestly do. I'm just going to have a quick.
I think they'll go next season. I think you go into what's happening behind the scenes of Chelsea in terms of increasing revenue.
Have a look at this. Have a look at this because not only they're at Real Madrid again, right, and then they've got semi-final of the cup next weekend. Then they've got. This is great. They're playing Arsenal at home, West Ham at home. They're away at Everton, and then they've got Wolves, and then they're away at Leeds. Then they've got Man United away, and then they've got Leicester. That's actually quite a tasty run of games, I think, and I think the next two will. Certainly, once you get the semi-final of the cup, and I think Palace today were guilty of looking at the cup. So I'd wonder how Chelsea rebound from Madrid away in midweek, then FA Cup semi-final, and then they've got Arsenal, then West Ham. I think then we'll see exactly where they're going to head. That looks quite a tasty run of fixtures. That, whereas Spurs, I think this is good. This is the use of technology in front of you. Spurs have got Brighton at home, Brentford away, Leicester at home, Liverpool away. Which Spurs, even when I was a kid, Spurs never won at Anfield. And then they've got Arsenal away. Got Arsenal at home, and then they've got Burnley. Oh, there you go. That's just like Burnley keep cropping up in the most bizarre places. But Spurs have got it in their own hands.
I think a couple of weeks ago we were saying, or I was anyway, that it's in Arsenal's hands. Arsenal probably favourites. But the last few results you were winning 6 on the bounce before. I was saying the comments was before they played Liverpool, obviously. Now obviously they're going into the Liverpool game thinking, "Oh, we're going to win that, or we'll get a draw." They're going to be going to that game thinking, "Do you know what? It's a free hit. You're going to get beat. The other teams that are drop points between now and the end of the season. Don't worry about it, lads. Go out there and do it." And I thought the week after they won, I thought, well, they've done that, but then they got beat at home.
Yeah.
Like Brighton this week. I thought,
Yeah.
You know,
I'm really intrigued because I know we've said it, and we ignored Arsenal for the first couple of months of the season because actually they were so inconsistent and they were rebuilding, and yet once it's a bit like fantasy football, and once you transfer somebody in, but it's happened. It's once you get that, we've started mentioning Arsenal. You start thinking that they've built up that head of steam where you actually thought they were going to become top four, and I don't like using the word bottle because I don't think it is down to that. I think it's come down to a couple of injuries because Tierney's got injured and Arsenal need him, and the lads Tavares is bestly. You might as well be singing "Was It Heaven Must Be Missing an Angel," shouldn't he? Because every time he gets played from the start, he gets hooked just before either at half time or whatever, and he's just like he lets himself down. So I don't know. Arsenal just, like I say, Jekyll and Hyde, and it's bizarre because they put themselves in such a great position to really challenge, and again they've got a difficult run of games coming up as well.
It's like Nick saying there with the comments I've got highlighted that Arsenal don't
Yeah.
I think about what you're getting at there, Nick, is are you getting to the point of it gets to a certain point of the season you start dropping off because that's what Spurs are famous for doing. You get to a certain point, they play great for the first 3 quarters of the season and you just drop off. Is that what Arsenal are getting at? Because Arsenal for the first quarter were poor. Second quarter, good. Third quarter, really good. And then we're dropping down again. And it's like, that's where I'm understand. That's the interpretation.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I'd agree. And just to continue the theme here, because this is fascinating me, purely on a fact of trying to plot how this championship and how the relegation battle can pan out, and certainly how that race for the top 4 and then the European places. Arsenal's next run of games are not particularly good either. So they're away to Chelsea, they're at home to Man United, away to West Ham, then they're at home to Leeds, then they're away to Spurs, away to Newcastle, and then last game of the season, lo and behold, they're going to get 3 points because they're playing Everton, and they always beat us. They always have. I said that weeks ago. I've written the last game of the season off already.
You've been saying this for a while, John, but at the end of the day, you got 3 points where you come up with the comment, by the way, I wasn't expecting that, or somewhere along them lines. Yes, But just because I'm a little bit conscious of how we got me as a Scouser, you as a Scouser, John, we can wrap it on a little bit to me and you. And I'm just thinking, Charlie, what's your thoughts on all this? What we're doing at the minute? What's your thoughts on Arsenal and stuff like that at Tottenham?
Arsenal they don't impress me. Tottenham, I think, has found their groove now, and I think Conte's got a good hold of what he wants to do, and I think the players now. I think they always had confidence in Conte, but I think at first there was kind of this, this learning curve or whatever. But now that he's got them up and running, and I think there's when the players have confidence in the coach, then it's things start to click more, and I think Tottenham have that now. So I can definitely see them finishing easily in the top 4. I do see them pressing to the top 3 because Chelsea, again, there's so much stuff going on with Chelsea, and my question is, even if Chelsea finish top 3, are they going to have some types of sanctions put against them? Where they're going to be kicked out of Champions League? Are they going to be out of the top 4? Are they going to get penalized points or something? It's just all that stuff's still up in the air. It's just so you wonder if even if Tottenham make top 4, will they make the Champions League because Chelsea's booted or something, like some type of situation like that? I don't know how often that happens, but again, we're living in a strange world. So.
I think they're good questions, Charlie, to be honest with you. Chelsea, after this is all over, the new season's over and stuff like that, and the new owners come in, because ultimately, Charlie, there's no way Abramovich could ever keep hold of Chelsea now. Even under a quasi model, I don't think he could ever keep hold of them. I think that's it now. The British government has said, that's it now. You're tied with Putin. You're gone. Get out of our country. Get out with your investments. You're not going. The problem the British government have got is, how do they do that without him making a profit? So all the only way they can do that is by seizing the club themselves and bringing Chelsea into government's ownership and then selling it on.
That would be controversial, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because any team could be seized. You know,
that's. You think of all for Charlie. If you think of all for Charlie, you know, I know. I might be saying something a little bit controversial myself at the minute. Is, you know, the British, you know, as evil as the empire was, we spread about the thought of democracy. We spread the word of democracy in the world of, you know, we have a free society and that's how you free speech. It all comes from these islands of ours. That's where it comes from. But so how does a government from a land such as that who spread that and even if it happened in the States who really amplify that message, how does someone of that country politically do that? It's a difficult question to answer, isn't it? How do we do that without invoking on someone else's rights? Do you know what I mean? How do you do it? It's a really good question.
Do you know something, Stephen? We've actually taken this from being therapy and being this would be a topic that actually it should be being talked about on national radio. This is something which it transcends just sort of football, you know, because your initial point in particular is I actually think that probably in order to keep Chelsea afloat, the government will probably have to step in at some point, unless one of these big baseball teams comes in and buys it with cash. But where does that leave? Where does that leave these clubs further down the football pyramid? Those that were previously, I'm thinking of Bury, Macclesfield, Scarborough. There's teams that have gone to the wall and been allowed to go to the wall because they've owed the taxman a lot of money and been forced into extinction because they owed the government money. And here's the government possibly being forced in a position to save a Premier League football club. But I know it's hypothetical, but I think there's something that really sort of, I actually think it does. I actually think it just transcends a little bit more on the fairness of football. And I would actually, if you're being fair to the Berries of the world or the Macclesfields of the world, then you shouldn't be bailing any money towards Chelsea at all. If they can't afford to pay the bills, then unfortunately, you know, you look at the situation Derby are in, you know, and that goes from an owner who was completely deluded and spent a load of money that he didn't have. So
yeah, I totally agree. But it's for me, it's like, how does it work? You know, it's all well and say, you know, well, the government have caused this mess like they did with the you know, the COVID stuff and the sanctions they put in. You know, you've stepped into people's lives now. You profess to be a free democratic society, yet you've not. I know we're going into news night, Nick. I know I get
I like that. That's a really nice line, that, Nick. Thank you.
I like that one. But how do you not go into them realms when this kind of topic comes up? How do you not get into the realms of, how are you invoking now onto my right as a free democratic citizen of a free country to decide how my life will be, to decide how I will go and do that? How do you do that? Where is that line? It's always about that line of where the government is and where you are as a free citizen. There's always that. Yeah. And I get that. And Sarah's come back and said, let's try and get Piers Morgan on. But Nick's come straight back and said, nah.
She's a gooner.
It is. I don't think that's what we're doing here is a very British thing. It's like we make light of the most serious of topics. Because it's the only thing we can do.
But that's why we need that's why we need Charlie, because Charlie had actually touched upon this before we both jumped in with 2 feet.
And it's talking about it's Charlie who's chucked the grenade in the middle.
Yeah. And we fell for it. You know, it's just like
Sure, blame the Americans. Blame the Yankees.
Of course, it's all the Americans' fault. On a serious note, Charlie, what's your thoughts of it though? What do you think should happen in England about what we just said there?
That's tough. I know. It's like you think maybe. Yeah, I'm against the government taking away any property that's not theirs. But when someone's been involved, like what is it, Abramovich? Is that his name? What's that? Yeah, like he is in in regards to Russia and Putin and whatnot. Maybe it's something where you can let someone buy the club and you put that money that they paid, like a fair market value to the club. Let someone buy the club for that amount, and then you put that money either towards a charity or something. I don't know. That's the only thing I think. Obviously you don't want it going to a bad organization or anything like that, but what else can you do? It's just it's tough. And who decides who's going to buy it? Is it? Yeah, it's tough.
It's a tough question, Charlie, because at the end of the day, for a government like the British government or even the American government to take over a company, a private company, they've got to set laws and statutes through the houses. So you have the House of Representatives and I forget the other house. We have the House of Commons, the House of Lords, and you got to get them laws passed so you can do it. Otherwise, it's unlawful. Once you pass them laws are there no matter what, and they apply to everyone. So it's one of them, isn't it? Do you want them to do it, and worry about what it's going to have an effect on you in the past? Is it a ploy to get these laws passed? Is all this a ploy to get laws? I don't know. We're stepping in the realms of conspiracy theory here, and I need to really calm myself down on that, because when you start digging into that kind of question, it really is, where do you go with it? And for me personally, I'm like, just let him sell it. What he's going to do with his money, he's going to do with his money, because I think that's the easy way out. It's a coward's way out, probably. If it was to be honest, it's okay. Abramovich, he's got ties with the Kremlin, and Putin's not done great things, and we can all admit that, and we know that. Will he go down the same realms of?
Yeah, that's a good route, though. You let him sell it, and then let the world court go after his assets if they have to. And
exactly. Don't deal with it as an individual state of the world. I think what the likes of the United States, British, and the European nations done after, the Second World War and formed NATO, in terms of becoming like this international law form and stuff, society. I think we need to keep it that, and just don't deal with it as a normal state. And
I think, Stephen, just moving it on a little bit. Nick has come up. There's an absolutely brilliant comment from Nick there, and trying a buddy scheme where Premier League teams buddy up with a team in lower leagues, so you can loan players, revenue, friendlies, etc. I love that. I think it's a really, really cracking idea. I've got to admit, I can't. Yeah, we did, but I can't sit here and sort of have a dig at Chelsea, because my own club is in a position where for the last 3 seasons we've exceeded the FA financial fair play, and we're cooking the books to try and make sure that we're not. So we're in discussion with the FA to try and make sure that Everton do not get any points deduction or any sort of, and I think they've pushed it to the nth degree. And should they be relegated, I think the full force of that just come out as it did with Derby, and as it did previously with Sunderland and stuff like that. But what Everton are embroiled in is they're playing the game to an extent that for as long as it stays in the Premier League, then the Premier League will try to ensure that either, like they've done with Man City, they'll either turn a little blind eye, or They will work, and as they're doing at the minute, they will work with Everton to ensure that they comply to the financial fair play. Now, that has resulted in Everton not being able to buy players very much this season, except for very cheap ones. But I think that Chelsea are in that predicament now. They don't have that figurehead at the top of the club who's got a load of money where you can rinse it through and put it through as a sponsorship deal, or you can put it through as this, that, and the other. Chelsea have got a lot of players in different clubs on loan. So maybe a little bit of housekeeping's needed at Chelsea Football Club. You know, they've got Conor Gallagher, he's at Palace. He'd be great. He'd be a great player there. But they could create, you know, you could get one of these, when one of these companies takes over, venture capitalists take over a company, and they basically fire sale everything. You could do that at Chelsea, replace most of what's on the pitch at the minute with the young lads who are all out and on loan, and Chelsea would still compete top 10. But you'd make a bucket load of money, and then you could basically sell the club again yourself. And that's my fear longer term with Chelsea, is the fact that they get absolutely rinsed, and they get someone coming in, they pay a lot of money for the club, take a lot of people out, fire sale an awful lot, and then sell it again before the proverbial hits the fan, and then you'll suddenly find that your club's not worth as much, and you're not perhaps as successful as you previously were. It's a fascinating thing, and I would love to sit with a Chelsea fan and just delve deeper into where they think that they're going.
Just going back to Nick's comment there about the buddy scheme. Did we not used to do that? I'm thinking when I was a kid in the 80s, Liverpool used to bring a lot of players through, like from Wrexham, Chester, stuff like that. So that's where we got the and Russ from.
Yeah,
I'm sure we used to do that, or pick up the pink page. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking, nonsense. I thought we did that in the past.
The issue becomes, though, Stephen, is that further down the leagues, even at non-league level, there are rules in place as to how many players you can actually have on either emergency loan, proper loan, and how many loans you can have within a season, and what becomes really sort of difficult is for them to actually know that they're staying within the rules for their league, and each league seems to be different. Right. So if you're in National League North, the rules are different from the Northern Premier League. Northern Premier League is the rules change between there and the league below, which is Northern Premier League, and it's East and West and all this, and it is so confusing. I think there was an issue recently where a secretary of one of the clubs had, they didn't know that this lad had played in a cup game. They were looking at, they got him on loan, they played him in the cup, and then said, "Oh, sorry, I played in the cup." Nobody knew, and so they're trying to protect themselves further down the ladder, and I think it's really unfortunate, because it really is, like Nick said, it'd be a really cracking idea against getting some of these younger players some proper game time, rather than them just going to play for the under-23s. It's not the same. Anyway, I'm gonna drag this show back on track, rather than being like Newsnight. Harrison, I hope you've gone to bed early. There's no school tomorrow either, mate. So there you go. Do one. That's it. If you're not happy with us being like Newsnight, this is getting dead serious for us. But yeah, and Nick, yeah, that's a good call as well. Getting medical staff as well. I think that's absolutely, it needs looking into. It really does, and I think there needs to be that sort of more of an open door policy. But guys, we've been this far into the show. What are we? 44 minutes. 44 minutes, and you two have been very, very patient in not going OTT on talking about the Liverpool game. But I'm more intrigued, and I'll just mention Brentford beat West Ham today. Leicester beat Palace 2-1. Palace are another team. How on earth? They keep chuck a decent result in, and then they do the opposite. And I'll just go back to yesterday's fixtures. We mentioned Arsenal, we mentioned Chelsea, Southampton. Leeds won 3-0. That was that's what Leeds have been needed.
What a result that was, 3-0. Wow.
Yeah, but that also just tells you where Watford are a little bit as well.
Yeah,
so, boys, it's over to you. It's over to you because you've been very patient. The washing machine in my house is about to go absolutely crazy, so I'm going to go and turn it off. But you guys can actually go and tell us a bit about the Liverpool City game, because actually, when you get games like this, it's got 0-0 written all over it. Two teams frightened of losing, and it was like a game of basketball today. It was absolutely a fantastic advert for Premier League football.
I was not worried about a 0-0 ending at all, man. That was, these teams they play to their what they advertise, and these are rock'em sock'em rock and roll football clubs. They go out and they go to hammer the other team no matter what. They're not afraid to put it all out there. And I got what I was expecting, pretty much. I was expecting Liverpool to not be so nervous today, but you had people, even on both sides, though, you saw nerves on both sides, because there was some bad passes, some bad balls. Even Alexander-Arnold was way off with his deliveries today. And, I mean, some of the passes he made were atrocious, as well as Jota is another one that came to mind. He was giving the ball away in really bad spots. And but Man City was making some mistakes as well. And obviously I'm a Liverpool fan, and I was expecting the Reds to do a little bit better today. The first half, they were lacking. They were a little bit the worst team, but they made up for it, in the second half. I think Klopp, maybe bang some heads together saying, get the nerves out, just play with, just enjoy the game and you'll do a lot better. And they did come out in the second half a lot more in control. And, but yeah, it was an exciting game. That's for sure. But I was hoping for more from the Reds, especially in the beginning. In my mind, we play City a lot better than just the statistics and whatnot. And what I found was an interesting statistic, right? Over the last 4 years, there's 1 point separating all the points that these two teams have made. Over 4 years, 1 point separation from all the points that they've gathered from games. That's insane. That is insane. We had a really good season a couple of years ago where we won it by 18 points or something like that, right? So that says something, but it shows just how tight these two teams are. And on paper, the first meeting was 2-2. This meeting was 2-2. It shows these guys, and they have a respect for each other. You can tell. I like seeing that at the end of the game. They shake hands. They're like, wow. It's like they acknowledge each other's strengths, and that they're playing a really good team.
I'm strange. I've actually written that down as something to ask you guys, because actually at the end of the game, the relationship between the two sets of players was very friendly and convivial, which I wasn't expecting. You look back to when Man United and Arsenal were competing for the title, and the players hated each other. To get them, it was a case of if you got to the end of the game and they weren't punching each other, it was a start. But actually, there was a mutual respect on that pitch after the 90 minutes, wasn't it, Charlie? That was
yeah. It's not the you got to wonder if it's because they share a mutual hatred of United, or something like that. But the old Liverpool teams where they had. Like you had Gerrard, who had those stances against certain teams where he just wanted to pound them and really rub it in. You get that these new teams are less entrenched, less violence has happened in their games, and there's a mutual respect there. That's what my sense is. And since the older players that used to have those, the Carragers and the Gerrards, they're all not playing anymore, I think that has dissipated. It's gone. I think there's more of a mutual respect between these players. And these players nowadays, they're all playing on together with national teams and everything. They're all they're all friends from this, that, or the other thing, anyways. Or they played together just 3 years ago. You know, there's so much turnover in the league. So I think that has to do with it as well.
I think you've hit a good point there, Charlie. I think less so with the international side. I think the international teams, the game's always been there. But I think the way the players are always going from one club to the other and playing with each other. But I would just say, I think John hit on the Arsene Wenger and Ferguson years. They were. Everyone goes back to them those lots of years, but I know you guys are older than me, so you'll know they're rather older than that, And Stephen, you're talking out your backside, but I go back to Dalglish and Kendall, and and then kind of rivalries, and Bruce, what's his name at Arsenal, and Shankly. I don't think there was as much animosity between those managers as there was between Ferguson and Wenger. I think they took it to a different level, and that. I think what you're seeing now with these two managers in Klopp and Guardiola is they can compete but respect, which is it's an amazing and a beautiful thing to watch. It's so unknown to like myself growing up the years I grew up in. In the early start, I know is the back end of Paisley, the start of say Dalglish era managerial wise, is the bringing that respect to each other. They respect each other's teams, and they respect it to the point where I'm not going to get involved in the mind games. And I keep hearing and reading the press over here like, oh, this Guardiola starting the mind games or Klopp starting the mind games, and neither of them ever do. They genuinely have that respect for each other. They really, really do. And to be fair, both of them have got contrasting styles, but it's like chalk and cheese. That's the way the two managers play. But they complement each other so well. And the levels you're seeing Liverpool and Manchester City get to, you wouldn't see them two teams get to that level if it wasn't for the other manager there. You really, really wouldn't. Before you, I know you're going to say something there, John, but before you go.
All I was going to say, though, Stephen, there was a moment in that game today that I don't know if a lot of people saw, irrespective of the goals, irrespective of anything else, there was a moment where Phil Foden received the ball and performed just a bit of just footballing genius that was worth watching the game. It was worth the admission money alone.
Just to watch and took it through and went.
Just amazing. Didn't end up coming to anything, but just a most amazing bit of control. And that's going back to your point. That's what we've been watching. There's players that are at such a high level, and to see Alexander Arnold today, I don't think he was at his best. And for the first 20 minutes, he looked like a nervous wreck. But he was made to look like that. And you talk about someone who's a fantastic football player, and just up against the best. It's like the best of the best, and it was the most amazing game to watch from a neutral point of view. I've got to say, the first half's 10 minutes long.
John, to be honest with you, I'm a Liverpool fan, and Charlie's a Liverpool fan, but I'm a football lover. I love football, and I just love watching a good game of football. For me, there was a point in that game, I think we've still 2-1 down. We're getting to the end of the first half. I'm thinking, you know what? This is an amazing game. City absolutely has us. Right from the start, that first half, this is my view of the game, this is my comments of the game, is in the first 10-15 minutes, City just pulverised us. We just didn't know what answer to them. They just come out the blocks and they were at us. We went 1-0 down. And we started passing it about and controlling the game and getting on the ball, passing it about and knocking it about. And I think this is what you need to do, Liverpool. This is what you need to do it. And we get the goal. But for some reason, we got the goal and sat back again. I'm thinking, why are you not pressing? I said it in the comments in the thing. Our pressing is not, and I think it was right before we got the second goal. Me and Charlie were on the chat right before
Yank, man, Yank, Salah.
Get them gone, they're not pressing. Get them gone. scored the second goal, but at the same time, it was just, I don't know. I think what we're witnessing in the Premier League this year and the last few years between City and Liverpool, you go right back to the first year we challenged and we lost it by a point and we got 96 points. They got 97 points. And then the next year, lockdown happened, but we cantered to a win. Last year, lockdown was still there. City cantered to a win. And this year, what you've got is you've got them going head to head. You've got the two teams saying, look, we've been through 2 years of real strange stuff going on here. No, we're the two teams that you need to be watching. And I just thought that was the best, not just the best advertisement for the Premier League, which I'm really biased against, but it's the best advertisement for football. It was just an amazing game. From a neutral point of view, John, really, from someone who is supporting and loves Liverpool to bits and would have known that if we'd have lost that game, that was our title race over. I don't doubt that. What a game. I don't think I'd have walked away from that game. If we'd have lost that game in the last minute where Mahrez had that chance, yes, as a Liverpool fan, I would have been devastated. Absolutely distraught. And I probably wouldn't have a smile on my face and be struggling to get a smile on my face.
But I was thinking doing the show tonight, that was all I was concerned about.
But if you used to ask the footballer of me, I'd have said I enjoyed that game thoroughly from start to finish.
It was a good game. To touch upon Nick's comment there, though, I think I don't think they made it seem. I didn't think they made the field seem longer. I think they were out there putting baby oil on the grass or something like that. Because there must have been like 20 slips from Liverpool's players during that game. Wasn't it? They're slipping all over the place.
To be fair, don't get me wrong. City were good in the first half, and I know first impressions count, but I'm not being funny. Liverpool bossed the second. He did. He bossed the second. He bossed the second half. I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, City were great in the first half," and just roll over. No, Liverpool bossed that second half. Liverpool were more. Well, they were a match. Both teams were more than a match for each other. I'll just say that. And I think that's why you can't separate the two teams.
They both covered the point.
Klopp or Guardiola described it as like a boxing game, a boxing match, and it was like two proper heavyweights slugging it out, and actually getting to the end of the bout, and there's nothing between the two because there wasn't. And actually, what was really delightful to see at the very end, and I know people have talked about, what managers do at the very end of the game, but Klopp and Guardiola just. The embrace from the two of them at the very end was just like, we both gave it our absolute best there. It's like gladiators in Roman times, wasn't it? We gave it our absolute best there, and nobody could choose a winner.
Except no one died, John. No one died. People died. People died.
So when I think of these two teams, I think from an American standpoint, I compare them to the 80s of the Celtics and the Lakers. If you guys know basketball at all,
yeah.
Two great teams going at it, and they were just the best of the best. And that's what we have the last 4 years. You have these two teams are just going right at it. They're the top two, easily top two. I think they're in their own league. Yeah.
Wales.
Yeah. I'll avoid going off topic by saying, Man United fans had sort of love to come in on that, Charlie, and sort of say, well, what about us? But actually, they've been nowhere near it for the past 4 years. These are two teams that have been at the absolute pinnacle of it all. And actually, I still feel City have been denied a Champions League win to match Liverpool's as well. City have been an immense team to watch. Liverpool, since the minute Klopp went in there, has changed so significantly, and gone from that club where, we were nearly champions. They've gone beyond that, he doesn't spend the money that everyone else does. And I think this is what intrigues me with Klopp.
Exactly.
Liverpool are just not spending the money,
John, the next
Klopp has set the mold. Klopp has set the mold for the next two generations. It's like from the academy on up, this is the way football needs to be done, and it's economical as well as it gets results.
It's brilliant what they've done. FSG bringing Klopp in, the model FSG have put in, Klopp coming in. He's the right manager. I hope Klopp is. I've heard the comments from him saying, "Oh, might stay beyond 2024 now," and I hope he does. I hope he just sees this as, you know what, this is the challenge for you, Klopp. You're not going to go from here and go to somewhere better. You're going to go somewhere. For me, anyway, from a personal point of view, you're going to just be taking a step down. But that's up to him. But for me, what Klopp and Guardiola brought to the Premier League is just something phenomenal. They've redefined how to win the league.
Yeah.
They've redefined how to win the league. And if Liverpool don't win the league this season, so what?
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, so what? Because I honestly, genuinely believe we will win it again over the next 2 to 3 years. Yeah. We're that good. And here's another thing what I like about the transfer policy.
I want the quadruple, by the way. I want the quadruple.
Yes, the quadruple. I get that.
I want that.
It's never been achieved. It's a dream. It's never been achieved. Here's one thing for you, right? Is this what I love about the FSG model, right? And it is the FSG model. It's not the Klopp model. It's the FSG model. But Klopp buys into it. Buy the young talent, and bring them and get them into that, and have a good coach like Klopp and and Linders and stuff like that, and bring them through and do that. We've just gone and got that young Carvalho from Fulham. He's signed. He's done. It's going to get announced next month. That's the kind of signing I want to see. Now, Salah is coming. I want to get into Salah just 1 minute before we go. Salah's going on about. He's turned down a 400 grand a week wage contract. For me, don't take the fans for granted. Don't get your agents on Twitter like you did last week to put a load of laughing emojis in our manager. You're not as important. You're not as big as the football club. You never will be. Please do us a favour. Treat the club with the respect, because before you come to Liverpool, you win nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Say, give Coutinho a call. Talk to him for 5 minutes before you make any.
How well did Coutinho do? How well is Coutinho doing, by the way? I watched that game. Wow, unbelievable. He has still got it. He has still got it in abundance. Yeah. Good shout, that Charlie. Good shout.
No, I agree. I'm also gonna. One thing that really did tickle me today was after Gabriel Jesus' goal, and Paddy Power tweeted the immortal words, "The joke's on Jesus. All his best mates are going to betray him in less than a week's time." And I just thought, do you know something? That to me was tweet of the day. And it was just like, that was mid-game. And loads of people had missed it. I just thought, that's comedy at its highest by somebody on the Twitter feed. But amazing game. And do you know something, guys? They're going to do it all again next weekend.
Oh, don't. Because this April is an absolute nightmare. But do you know what? I'm going to go to what Gary Neville said at the end of the game. And he says, you look at that run of fixtures that City and Liverpool have got. Yes, normally you'd be saying you've got United and you've got the Derby, one after the other, and you're thinking that's a hard run of games. But no disrespect, John, and no disrespect to any United fan watching, and this is Gary Neville's words, not mine, is both teams are doing awful, so why would you be worrying about that? Well, as a Liverpool fan and a Liverpool person, I know exactly why I'd be worrying about that, because one, if there's a team both United and Everton going to turn up to, it's against Liverpool at Anfield. That's what they're going to turn up to. That's the cup final for this year. If they can do anything to stop Liverpool winning the title, if there was ever two teams on the bounce that would scupper us winning the title, it's them two. And that's all I'm going to say about that moment, that thing.
I just hope Pickford doesn't come and injure one of our players now on the stretch here, you know?
Now you've said it now, Charlie.
As if he would ever do anything like that, Charlie.
He hasn't got Studdy's only got 12.
Yeah. Oh goodness me! Yeah, could you imagine? It's just it's all play for, and that's why we love the game. That's why we love going back to it, even irrespective of whatever end of the football table you're at. You know, if you're at the top, yeah, it's a little bit easier to breathe. If you're at the bottom, yeah, it's a bit touchy at times. It's a bit of a struggle, but it's still as exciting, and it's still the things that makes you go back the following week. And it doesn't matter, be it Premier League football, be it non-league football, it's why you keep going back. And that's why it's the game we love.
That's it. And can I just, before we sign off, just put one positive note on top of what you just said there, John, to take what you just said there a little bit further is, not only do we have a title race on, we have a top 4 race, and we have one other relegation battle going on.
Yeah, certainly.
I think Everton done themselves a really big favour by beating United 1-0. And they done Spurs a big favour of getting top 4 in the process, you know.
Yeah.
But on that note, we'll sign it off there, I think, lads. We've just creeped over the hour, I think. So anyway, thanks for hopping in, Nick, Sarah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Everyone who's been in the chat. It's been brilliant.
Everyone else who watched, we thank you for watching as well. It doesn't matter if you didn't comment, but you know, if you ever feel like commenting in the future, just get yourself in there, get involved with the conversation.
And if you've caught up with the show and you're sort of watching midweek, we're here most Sundays. We're not here next Sunday because it's Easter Sunday, and we're all being very good, and just having that Easter weekend. But we will be back. Yes. We will all be in need of therapy by the end of this. So
we will. Can you imagine the end of season show? Hopefully, me and Charlie have got grins from ear to ear.
No, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. Arsenal last game of the season. I'm not going there. It's just unfair thinking.
That's it. On that note, thanks for watching. See you in 2 weeks.
Couple of weeks, yeah. Cheers, guys.
Bye.